All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me on Outside with Jeff. I just wanted to take you through a quick look at our green beans. These are my Kentucky Wonder pole beans from Ferry Morse. These are the Kentucky Wonder from Haas Tools. And what I've realized is something went wrong. These are, as you can see, some of them are climbing the fence, but the majority of those are bush beans. That's why they weren't getting as big. So this video is actually going to be about seed saving, but I just wanted to show you on these the reason the plants were so much smaller. These are all bush beans. So I don't know what happened with Haas Tools there, but they sent some pole beans and some bush beans, and you can tell those are all pole beans. So it is what it is. But let's take a look to this other patch here. I've done several pickings off of them. These beans here I planted early on, and I just want to do a video about how to save your green bean seeds. So we're going to come in kind of tight here, and you're going to see this brown bean right here. What you're going to do is you're going to pick, when they get like this, brown and crispy, you're going to pick them, okay? And what I generally do is I come through here each day. Now that, you know, we're sorry about that. We're August 18th. So this patch here is starting to wind down. There are still good beans on here, and I'm picking those as well. I picked, 1.5 pounds earlier today, just for fresh eating. But what you're going to do to pick your beans for saving for seed, you want these ones that are all brown and crispy. And I only pick them off the better plants. So these plants look really good. They're big, they got a lot of beans on them. So I pick them, right? Super easy. As you can see here, I did this earlier today, and this is what I've come up with. It gets really, really easy. Now, what I do, I like to have a smaller little bucket, and I've got it sitting up here. Let's walk over to it. And I'm not going to shell all of these because my daughter, my 4-year-old, is currently napping, and she enjoys helping me, but I wanted to do a few of these just to make this video. What you're going to do, there's where my seed's going to go. You're going to take them, and you're just going to split them open, okay? And the beans are going to pop right out, okay? Just like that. And then, basically, these are pretty dry, but they're not completely dried out yet. So I'm going to go ahead and shell a few more, and then I'm going to show you what you do next. Okay, so I went ahead and shelled a couple more of these off camera, and what you want to do is just look them over. You see a couple of them discolored. See that? That one's soft. It got stung up by a bug, okay? You'll be able to tell them if they're dark tan. In this case, you'll see most of them are darker tan. Those are your good ones. The ones that were off color like this, you can tell they don't match. The rest of these look pretty good. I'm just going to throw those off in the grass. And your next step is you're going to want to let them sit out in a dish like this, out of the direct sun, but you want them to be outside to where they can get like a breeze or something like that. You don't want them closed up. You don't want them sealed up. You want them to continue to dry. I like to let mine dry for another 4 or 5 days after I've shelled them. The next step, I'll take you inside. So the next step is, after I've shelled them and I've let them sit outside for a good 4 or 5 days to really finish drying out, I put them in a Ziploc bag and I put them in the freezer. And the reason you're doing that is green beans, they'll get stung up or bitten by bugs, and what they're doing is they're planting their larvae inside that bean. And if you don't freeze them, that larva inside the bean, it'll actually end up maturing, and it'll actually end up maturing, turn into a little worm, and it'll end up eating your bean. It'll get, I forget what it's called, a weevil. Yeah, like a weevil. The same thing that they do in corn. If you do like field corn, if you don't freeze it, you can get weevils in your field corn, and it'll just ruin your whole batch, and your seed will not store properly. But by putting these in the freezer, it kills those weevils. So I just leave them in the freezer for a few weeks. I'm not even worried about it, you know. I'm not worried about, hey, do I need to leave them there 4 or 5 days or whatever? No, I just leave them in the freezer for a couple weeks. I don't even care if I forget about them, and then grab them out. And I don't do it for the, they have a word for it. Can't think what it is right now, but it's when something has to go through a freeze cycle so that it knows to germinate in the spring. I don't do it for that reason. I just do it to kill those little weevils that might be living in these beans. So it's as simple as that. Pick your beans when they're good and dried and crisp on the vine, pop them, let them dry outside of the pod, put them in a baggie. After they've sat for 5 or 6 days out of the pod, put them in that baggie, and then throw them in the freezer and forget about them for a few weeks. And then you store them in a container that'll keep any pests out of them. And that's all there is to it. So I hope you decide to store some of your own green bean seeds. Pea seeds work the same way. There's lots of things like this that you can store really easily. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining me on Outside with Jeff.